I'm different. Maybe you are too. Maybe your difference is more subtle and hard to recognize. Or maybe it's more obvious and noticeable. And we have our critics telling us, don't be like you. You've got to match everyone else. The same people tell me, Greg, you've got to learn to speak like hearing people. Have you heard me speak? Me neither. Our biggest critics are not always people. They're the signing voices in our head. These voices develop from years of interaction with people, training our brains to see us the way we aren't. You know, if you weren't different, you'd be a perfect human. They pile it on. Greg, you know the game of golf? If you were hearing, you'd hit a hole-in-one perfect every time. Oh, knock it off. Let me tell you a secret. I suck at golf. And most other people do too. This is me playing golf. Sorry, Ma. I'm here to tell you that you can tell these voices to stuff it. Kick them out of your headspace. Boom. Our differences are what make us badass humans. So when people say you need to be more hearing, more this, more that, you say, thank you, but no. Because what makes you different is what makes you beautiful, amazing, and precious. It's easy to think how we're different is a disadvantage, but it really is powerful to see it the other way around. A friend of mine always used to say, there are people who need hearing to function? Ooh, should we give them money? Wait a minute. Something's not right. You notice they all talk to the same imaginary friends, Siri and Alexa? Just like my friend has baggage about how much it must suck to be hearing, maybe you don't know deaf people, and you've got some baggage about how much it must suck to be deaf. But you know it doesn't suck to be hearing, and we deaf people know it doesn't suck to be deaf. Actually, it's pretty badass. We have a term, deaf gain, which is the opposite of hearing loss. There's a lot I love about deaf gain. To me, the two coolest gains I would love to share with you today are heightened body connection and heightened awareness. Let's start with the body. See this language and how cool it is? It's a complex language with years of development and evolution. It also uses our face, body, arms, everything. That means many body benefits. Three examples of deaf people using their body advantage come to mind. Deaf rapper Wah Wah Snipe uses his body to perform at a masterful level, like he did at the 2021 Super Bowl. If you've seen him, you know what I'm talking about and why he has national recognition. America's Next Top Model had a deaf contestant who credited his first-place victory to his deaf body connection. He started in the middle of the field against better competitors, but his body advantage let him evolve quickly and surge all the way to first place. I have a deaf friend who's an engineer. He uses his body awareness to intuitively feel the structural bodies of buildings and things. This lets him predict structural failures way ahead of anyone else, and has put him in high demand. The body connection has benefits in education, too. Remember chemistry class? A lot of concepts are complex, abstract, and difficult to explain verbally. They use diagrams, pictures, models, and books to help. But my deaf teacher had it easy. She chilled and explained hydrogen like this. That's it. She took it to the next level with lithium. And just like that, we deaf students understood electron orbitals months ahead of the syllabus. So you know what we did? We taught our hearing friends, and they got A's. The body connection also meant our teacher was very expressive. We were hooked. Compare this to my also wonderful hearing PE teacher who spoke like this. You never show up for class. You don't turn in homework. I'm so depressed. Last time I was depressed, I didn't look like that. Deaf people like my teacher are expressive. They are also great at reading expressions. That brings me to the second gain. Heightened intuition. Deaf people have keen skills with reading people, situations, contexts, and emotions. Our visual nature leads to advantages with memory, face processing, motion processing, sensation, and perception. I want to share a story with you that illustrates this point. You're probably familiar with the idea of using an interpreter to communicate between hearing and deaf communities. You speak, the interpreter listens, the interpreter signs. I sign, the interpreter sees the sign, the interpreter speaks to you. Now imagine a deaf interpreter interpreting from hearing to hearing? What? Yet, that's exactly what happened in the Ottoman Empire. Traveling sultans needed to communicate across different cultures and languages. They recognized deaf people have keen skills of visual and kinesthetic awareness and brought deaf people to cross spoken language barriers. I experience this same effect today when I attend international deaf conventions and can have conversations across entirely different signed languages. My favorite example happened when I met a deaf Russian. He wrote Russian and signed Russian Sign Language. I write English and use American Sign Language. We had not one language in common. Yet he could easily explain complex things to me. I remember he signed, Tell your friend Adam he left his picture frame in the hotel room. He can go and pick it up any time he wants. He only needed to express it once. The Sultans were not the only ones to recognize the deaf advantage. The CIA did too. My deaf mentor growing up, Robert, told me stories of the CIA paying him to observe spies meeting. He sat behind a newspaper and took notes. He was a lot more subtle. I don't recommend the CIA hire me. Bad idea. But my favorite example happens when I'm watching a football playoff game and one of my deaf friends sees something. Hey, I saw the ref's eye twitch. Game is rigged. You want to make money? Bet on the Patriots. So far, we've discussed the positives. It's also important we discuss the side that is not so easy to face. When I wrote this speech, I had 3 weeks. I sat down ready to tackle it, and then froze. And sweated. Tomorrow. Oh, tea break? Later. For 3 weeks, I hemmed and hawed. Why? Simple. I'm deaf and you're hearing. That's it. That one fact put me in an emotional seizure and caused me to forget my badassery as a deaf person. If you look at the history of the deaf world, you find hearing people haven't always been the nicest lot. On top of that, sometimes they'll be nice, but still have subtle negative impacts. An example all deaf people know is when someone says, "Wow, you communicate so well." Yeah, I have a master's degree. But they really should meet Haben Girma, the deaf-blind woman who graduated from Harvard Law. If you want to see genius, she's it. It may sound like a compliment on the surface, but the subtext is that they didn't expect someone who's deaf to be intelligent or able to function in the world. When you hear comments like this over and over again throughout your life, those negative assumptions start to pile up in your head. It wears down on you. And that is why it's important to embrace how you're different. And shine. When you realize your differences are badass, you'll notice that the negative messages in your head fall out. Those negative messages make you feel not so hot. The positive messages tell you you're a badass with so many benefits. Bring them together and watch the negative fade away. I challenge you to look at how you're different and say, hey, sometimes it's tough. But holy smokes, Batman, does it give me badass advantages? I challenge you to look. Didn't find why your difference is badass yet? Don't worry. Keep going. I promise you it's there. And when you find it, I'm gonna be so proud of you. I'm gonna ask you to sign my darn derriere. So go home, find why you rock, and make our world beautiful. Just like you.